Uh, my first featured biz this evening is I'm so excited to introduce her to you. She's amazing. Nicole Russo DeSouza of Skin to Soul Massage and Myofascial Release. Nicole Russo DeSouza is the founder of Nicole Russo DeSouza and the Love Leaders Facebook group, an online space dedicated to teaching others how to love themselves. She teaches online courses and offers self-love mentoring for businesses, career, money, and relationships. She started her career with a Bachelor of Science in Industrial Engineering at Northeastern University. As a creative entrepreneur, she chose to further her education and then obtain her massage therapy degree. She opened her own studio, learned John Barnes' myofascial release, loved it as the missing link in bodywork healing, and grew her healing business from one room to 3 locations within 10 years. That's amazing. She is an accomplished myofascial release practitioner and an intuitive healer, able to hear messages within her clients' stories and their bodies that spur them to create amazing change in their lives. Despite her career success, Nicole struggled with her own personal relationships and embarked upon an adventure to heal her own heart. This ultimately led her to marry herself in October 2013. Since then, she hasn't looked back, and she continues to mentor others in self-love through her online programs and help heal their physical pain through myofascial release. So welcome, Nicole. I'm so excited to have you here. How
Thank
amazing! I love
Thank you
it.
very much.
As a fellow healer, I love it. I think this is amazing. I'm so excited to talk to you today. So thank you for being part of the show.
Yes, thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk with you.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I want to hear more about what you do.
Okay, great. So I love doing the myofascial release, and as you mentioned in my bio, I learned it, I believe, 2011. On my birthday, February 10th. The day I turned 30 was the first day of my myofascial release seminar. I had just quit my engineering job, and I was considering going back to school for physical therapy. Um, but I sat in the class and I learned about myofascial release and how it works on the body to help heal it on all levels, physical, mental, spiritual, emotional. And I just knew that this was what I was going to do for the rest of my life. And it was the coolest feeling to just know your life's purpose. Um, so then I embarked upon that journey, learned how to heal myself, um,
Wait,
worked on,
can I just stop you for a second? So
yeah,
can you tell me a little bit about myofascial release? What does that entail? A little bit.
sure. So myofascial release works on the fascia of your body, which is your connective tissue. It's essentially this 3D gel-like web. It goes through your whole system. It's like your shock absorber.
Mhm.
And it's in between every single cell, it's in between every single muscle, in between bone, tendon. Literally, it's the space in between everything else. And with myofascial release, what happens is that as we go through life, we have trauma to our bodies, and trauma can be something very small, like
Mhm.
stress causes me to clench my teeth all the time, or trauma can be big, like a car accident. Um, and so, as you're having these little traumas to your body, your fascia essentially absorbs that shock of the trauma to your body. And when it absorbs it, it goes from the gel like state and it hardens up and becomes more like glue in your body. So you have these little pockets of glue everywhere. And so essentially, what we do as myofascial therapists is we find the glue, apply gentle, sustained pressure to those areas of your body, and that glue literally melts and becomes back to gel again. And that releases all the chronic pain symptoms that you're having and all of the issues. That's the
Wow.
simplified version.
Wow, and that wow. Well, you know what's interesting to me is the fact that you were an industrial engineer, and engineering in and of itself, it tends to be a non emotional,
Yep.
you know, it just it's all math, or it's math oriented. It's very, and to hear that you made that switch is really an amazing transition. I
Yeah.
mean, essentially that's like being that's a second lifer, because you've done,
Yeah.
you just moved on to something completely new, and
Hmm.
and really a different way of being.
Totally. Completely different. Um, I went into engineering because I liked to solve problems and help people.
Mhm.
I was also a really good student. And essentially, the choice in my mind was well, either I could do engineering or I could be a doctor. And I was not a fan of blood and guts, so I became an
Mhm.
engineer.
There you go. So,
Uh,
I mean, this is, I love what you're doing. I mean, I love the healing. I love it. I love it because it's right in my wheelhouse, and different, and, different from what I do, and different from other, healers that I work with, so everybody's a little different, which is great because different
mhm.
strokes for different folks.
Yep.
Do you think everybody should uh, get one of your treatments? I mean, do you think, or is there a certain person?
That's a good question. Well, my studio sees a lot of people who have chronic pain,
Hmm.
um, who have seen doctors, who have seen physical therapists, who have had multiple surgeries and still they have issues. Or, maybe they're very active, but they've had an injury that they just can't seem to get rid of. We're also seeing a lot of people too who are having a lot of anxiety and depression,
Hmm.
and that's sort of manifesting physically in their bodies. And we're starting to see a
Absolutely.
lot of people like that too. So, do I think that every human deserves to have some myofascial work? Yes, definitely. Um, the people who end up coming to see me specifically typically do have pretty complex cases because I've been doing it for so long and I have a lot of experience.
Hmm.
Um, and oftentimes, the people that come to see me are looking for intuitive messages as well, because when I work on their bodies, a lot of times messages will come to me. So
Hmm.
their chronic pain is actually connected to situations in the past,
Right.
things that they haven't healed. Um, and sometimes we get messages from, you know, uh, ancestors who have passed will, give me messages to pass along to them. So and I call that magical myofascial release because it's not actually, specifically John Barnes at that point, because I'm sort of bringing my own
No, well, that's your own
intuitive,
gifts.
yeah, to the table. So
So what if
that's
you have
actually,
knee pain?
yeah. So if you have knee pain,
What if I have a
um,
knee problem?
yes, that's actually a very good question because, you could have a knee problem and somebody else could have a knee problem, but it may not actually be in the knee at all. And your issue could be completely different and separate than their issue. And that's what I
Hmm.
love about this work is that it doesn't attach a protocol for knee
Hmm.
pain because
Hmm.
you're a unique individual with unique things that have happened to you, with a unique fascial structure, with a unique fascial glue. And I intuit and feel into your body and see, like,
Hmm.
where is this coming from? Is it originating, in a different place? Is it emotional? Is it physical? Is it both? It's usually
Right.
both.
Right. Well, so tell us. Now you wrote a book, which congratulations.
Thank you.
Fellow author. I love that. So yeah, so and it's so important to when somebody writes a book. Because I'm an author, I love having authors on my show because I want people to support them. You know,
Yeah,
it's important. So tell us about your book.
sure. I have it right here.
Oh,
It's
let's
called
well,
Marry Yourself First.
yay.
Yeah, I have a bunch of autograph copies in my office. Um, And it is basically my true story of healing my heart. Um, so when I started getting into myofascial release and started sort of releasing a lot of my own physical issues, um, I started becoming more aware of my lack of love for myself
Mhm.
and the different relationships I had gotten into over the years. Um, Crappy ones. Are we allowed to swear?
Well, not swearing, but you can say crappy. Crappy is
Crappy's
okay.
good.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's okay.
Very bad relationships. Emotionally abusive, physically abusive,
Hmm.
just not relationships that were good for me. And um, I didn't grow up learning how to love myself, learning how to honor me, learning how to feel into what I needed in life, how to nourish
Right.
myself. It was more about, helping everybody else and making sure that being the good girl and making sure that everybody else had what they needed. And that was through no fault of my parents. I mean, that's how they grew up. And so my book is essentially about me sort of fumbling through life, realizing that there's got to be something better at each turn of these relationships, and recognizing that I needed to learn how to love myself. And the big catalyst was meeting my husband,
Hmm.
um, breaking up with him because I essentially sabotaged the relationship, realizing that most of that was me, going on this self-love journey and actually marrying myself in a solo ceremony. And then we ended up reconnecting 4 years later. We're married, and the week that I gave birth to our first baby, I published my book.
Oh, congratulations. What a blessing. I
Yeah.
love that. So, what is, I want to hear your take on what loving yourself means.
Yeah. So it's a hard question to answer because I feel like loving yourself is a little different for everybody. But I do feel like at its core, it's listening to your heart and honoring what's inside your heart and really taking care of you, being your own mother, being your own father. And what does that even mean, right?
Well,
Just
I mean,
really
I
protecting
think that
you and
especially if you don't have, you know, our parents are flawed.
right. So I feel that, protecting your own heart, so creating boundaries for yourself, really listening into what your heart needs and wants, and taking actions to secure those wants and needs for yourself. And sometimes that means, you know, getting outside and going for a walk every day in nature. Sometimes that means no, I'm not going to have a relationship with this certain person because they
Right,
drain me or make me feel bad about myself.
right,
Sometimes it means, sometimes it does mean like having that bath and just being luxurious, right? Buying the fancy underwear and making yourself feel good.
right.
Um, but sometimes it's hard decisions too,
Yeah,
telling people in your life, having difficult conversations with people, that
yeah.
being vulnerable. So,
Or not even, I think sometimes even saying, well, no, I'm sorry, I can't make that event because, it might be
right.
draining, it isn't good for you, or you have, or saying yes to something that maybe takes the place of something else. And, it really the hardest part, there's two things. Yourself, dealing with your own voices in your head, but also the people around you that get sort of offended or hurt
Mhm.
by you deciding you on you.
Yes, that's a really good thing that you brought up, because as you start loving yourself and saying no to certain people, well, first there's the first obstacle. It's like, oh my gosh, I realize that I don't want to do this and I have to tell them no. But I feel like one way to make yourself feel better about it, especially if it's a pattern with the other person, is that your ability to speak for your own soul and tell them, no, that doesn't work for me anymore, frees them to do things a different way in their own life. And they may not like that at first, but instead of both of you going down this road that neither one of you, well, you don't want, maybe they do, but it frees them to pick a different road. There's like infinite angles they can choose now because you said
Absolutely.
no to this one.
When we choose ourselves and do what's best for our highest good, even if the people around us feel bad, it's what's best for them.
Yep,
That's,
exactly.
and I even said that, I even say that in my own relationship. I say, you have to do what works for you, even if you think it's going to make me feel bad, because in the end, then we're inauthentic. We're not who we are.
Correct. Yep.
So, what's the first step to take to loving yourself?
So I think the first step in my mind to take is to have a conversation with your soul or your heart, whether that's
Mm-hmm.
through journaling, whether that's through meditation, whether that's just kind of through self reflection and a walk, and just talking to yourself and saying, hey, you know I haven't been the best at taking care of you in the past. Sometimes I don't know all the answers, but I'm committing now, right now, to you that I'm going to listen to you better. And I'm going to do my very best to try to honor you. And then just see if you get any like pushback in your own soul and your own
Mm-hmm.
intuition. And it's almost like talking to a child or something, right? Your inner child, and
Well,
saying that
it is that, right?
yeah, I'm going to be there for you now. I'm ready to be there. I'm going to screw it up. I know that. So I'm saying that ahead of time, that I'm human, but that I'm going to do the best I can and that you come first.
I love that. Um, so, I talk about self love and extreme self care on the show all the time, and we know it's not selfish. It's actually selfless. It's actually it's what you need to. It's better. It's the best that you can do for yourself and others. So, how is loving yourself connected to chronic pain?
So if you are not loving yourself, that means that there is a disconnect from what you're doing to your own body. So your body knows that you are essentially betraying yourself on a daily basis if you're not loving yourself and choosing you. And if you're betraying yourself, there's different pockets of your body that disagree and sort of tighten up. So a more concrete example would be you have a relationship with somebody and you really want to tell them certain things because you're like annoyed or sick of them or the relationship's straining, but you can't. And, like it's a boss maybe or something along those lines, right? So instead, what do? You tighten your jaw all day long, holding back what you want to say. And then at the end of the day, you're wondering why you have a headache. And there's this fascial restriction through here because you're constantly tightening, but you don't even realize it because it's this minute micro bracing in your body. So that's just kind of one concrete example. Some people put that stress, they don't put it in their jaw, they actually put it in either their inner thighs or their pelvis area, which
Mhm.
can cause the lower back pain. Um,
Right, right,
Shoulders through the jaw can cause the shoulder issues.
right.
So if you are not honoring yourself and honoring boundaries and figuring out some way to work within your life, then this micro bracing happens because you're trying to get through life instead of live it joyfully.
You're just filled with so much wonderful, wonderful, wonderful information. I'm really thrilled. No, really, I'm so thrilled to have you here. I
Oh,
love
thank you.
talking about this, and we can talk forever.
Yeah, we
Um,
could.
we could. So why don't we tell everybody where they can find you, and
Sure.
tell everybody where they can get your book,
Yeah.
please.
So my book is on Amazon.
Hmm.
It is Marry Yourself First, Nicole Russo DeSouza.
Hmm.
If you want to go to my website, NicoleRussoDeSouza.com, there's paperback version, Kindle version, and I recorded an audio version
Oh,
in my
that's
voice.
awesome. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. You know what? I'm going to do mine too. I'm so
Yay.
excited. Yeah, I
Cool.
think it's awesome. So
Yep.
thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. And, I hope you'll come back.
Yes. Thank you
And
very much for having me.
so did you tell you told everybody you're on Facebook and everything like that, where you're on social
Yes,
media?
and we have a Love Leaders group too.
Okay.
So if you'd like to join us on my Facebook Love Leaders group, just look up Love Leaders Nicole Russo DeSouza and join us. And every day we have posts and different ways to learn how to love yourself on there.
I love it. Well, I appreciate it, and I am so glad you were here. I know you're going to come back. So thank you so much for being here, Nicole. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care.
You
So if you want to get in front of over 100K peeps, you definitely want to be a featured biz on the Just Steph show. Email me at steph@juststeph.com.